Welcome, friends, to the Someone Gets Me podcast. I am your host, Dianne Allen, and I am so delighted that you're here. This podcast was created because I believe there is a visionary leader inside each one of us who is waiting to be seen. In each episode of Someone Gets Me, you will hear useful tips from successful visionaries who will share their stories about how being seen has allowed them to take their vision out into the world with action. Loneliness cure. Here we're going to talk about how to cure loneliness. But first, let's decide and discuss what it is. Because often people think loneliness has to do with nobody around. But really, it's much deeper than that, especially for gifted and twice exceptional people. Loneliness means that I'm not connected to my inner self with my inner integrity. So I could be lonely in a crowd of people, or I could be lonely by myself, which is completely different than being alone. And so loneliness really plagues gifted people. It plagues artists, creatives, and people who don't really live in the boxes of life, which is most of us, right? And so we want to cure it by understanding that it's an inside job. So it's not what we think it is. Loneliness can never be cured by another human being or another thing outside of you. That's not the nature of it. So many people become addicted to drugs and alcohol and food and all kinds of things to stuff that inner hole, that hole of being disconnected on the inside. So what I want to talk about today is how to cure that loneliness, how to cure that disconnection, how to cure that part of us that is yearning for something more, and there is a hole there instead, because that's where the cure is. So I like to look at 5 major life areas in order to see the overarching picture that will really help you be able to understand simple, easy, manageable ways to start filling up that hole and realize that your loneliness is an inside situation. Then you can feel connected when you're by yourself, alone, or when you're within a group of people, because you will have your inner authority and integrity all lined up perfectly. So the first part of this, the first step, is mental clarity. That means our mind, right? All of us who are gifted and twice exceptional, we usually lead with our thinking selves, and we're very good at figuring and investigating and seeing what's going on. But it also has to do with your belief systems, what you believe, your attitude about things. So if you believe that you're inherently so different, you can never be connected to anyone, or if you were like me when I was in high school, I thought I was an alien and I was plastic, and so nobody could connect with that. If we have a belief that keeps us separate and siloed, then that can fuel loneliness. Our belief alone can give us an experience of being disconnected. Another part of our mental clarity that's so important is our self-talk. What we say to ourselves matters. Your brain believes your own voice above all other voices. So if you start saying to yourself, oh, I'm not good enough, or nobody likes me, or they'll never understand me, and you say it over and over, you will in fact create that experience. You could even adopt self-talk from someone else. Like I remember when I was very young, some of the adults around me would pat me on the head and they would say, oh, you're just a miniature adult. You're not like everyone else, Dianne. So I started thinking I wasn't like everyone else in a way that wasn't helping. It was a way that separated me. Because the truth is, as a gifted, twice exceptional adult, I am not like everyone else. That's not how my younger self interpreted that. And so it created that disconnection. So the first place to look to help us heal our loneliness and to cure that sense of longing and disconnection is in our mental attitude, having clarity about what we believe, what we say to ourselves, and what we're thinking. The second part is to have physical motion, right? We want to have physical motion. What's going on in our body? Is it all rigid? Are you tight? Or are you moving with a physical ease? Because it matters how we approach the world. Think about this for a minute. Have you ever been like in a restaurant or in a group where people could just walk up and come and sit down, maybe in a food court, and you're sitting there and people will come near you, but they won't go sit next to you, or they come and they sit right with you, right? Your energy, how you are physically interacting with your environment, dictates whether people approach you or not without you saying a word. You know it. You can feel it in other people. Well, people can feel it in you too. So we want to develop a sense of physical ease. And a lot of gifted people, funny enough, we need more minerals often. Maybe we need more magnesium so our muscles feel more fluid. Or maybe we need to get more comfortable in our own skin. That in fact, we might be a little different and we might be a little geeky or a little quirky. And that's what makes us beautiful, rather than that's what makes us different and separate. So that physical ease really matters when it comes to taking care of our loneliness. Then we want to have emotional freedom. So the third part is emotional freedom. And this is a big one. Because for me, an emotion is the energy source that tells us we're alive. So really, really strong excitement and really, really strong fear, they're the same biochemically. The difference, it's in our mind. So what are we doing with the energy source that tells us we're alive? Are we allowing our energy to flow and be kind and compassionate? Or are we withholding things? How is it working for you? Now, because all of us humans do it all differently, it's always an ever-expanding dance. So there's no right and there's no wrong in any of these. What I want to drive home here is to be aware, pay attention to how your energy comes across. Because if you're emotionally all angry and agitated and angsty, that's not going to attract people in the same way as if you're smiling and open and receptive. So how you bring yourself into a situation will dictate largely how you're received. How other people bring themselves into a situation will also determine how things land on you. So important, I think, to stop for a minute and pay attention to who we are and how we engage with the world, because there's really no wrong way. The better question is it working? So if you're feeling lonely and you're disconnected on the inside, practice a little bit more physical ease. Great things to do for this are like Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, different things where you can be in your body and not just in your head. Because some of us can think so much, we're like brains with sticks, and so we're very rigid, and we don't want to be that way. We want to be more fluid and more comfortable in who we are as beings hanging out on earth. That emotion ease will translate physical ease, will translate mental ease. You see how they all go together? And then your loneliness begins to dissipate because you're more and more connected on the inside. So that's the first three. The fourth one is spiritual assurance. And this is really important. Now, for me, spirituality is about our connection to who we are and why we are sucking air here on planet Earth. We're not talking religion. We're not talking anything other than how are you connected to this earth? Do you really connect with nature? I connect with the moon. Like wherever the moon is, I'm connected to it. There's even a name for that. It's called selenophilia. There's a name for love and appreciation of the moon. So how are you connected in a spiritual way to your essence and what you bring to the table as a really cool human being? Because all of us are uniquely made, perfect, whole, and complete to do what's meant to be done by us. So spiritually, how do you let that show up? Now, I was taught when I was younger from a teacher that I didn't have any creativity. That, Dianne, you're not creative. You'll never, ever do anything creative. Well, she was wrong. And it took me a lot of years to heal and get on the other side of that, where I could see that I am very creative and I have great vision and an ability to see things most people cannot see. So just because your creativity doesn't look like what somebody else says it should look like, doesn't mean it's not valid. It's totally valid and you are totally perfect. So how are you connecting to your calling, to who you are, to how you are meant to be in the world? How are you doing that? That's your spiritual assurance. The more you live that with integrity, the easier it is to cure that loneliness. because you'll draw other people to you with that energy of yours that will be attracted to that part of you. When you hide it, people don't know it's there, so they can't be attracted to you if they don't even know you possess it. So important to let it show up. The fifth thing is social connections. Multiple peer groups and social connections cannot be understated for gifted, twice exceptional, and creative people. It cannot be understated. We need to have people in our corner that get us, that understand who we are and how we operate. Musicians talk musical talk, artists talk artist talk, writers talk author talk. And it matters that we have people in our world that understand that language. We should have multiple peer groups that feed different parts of our body and different parts of our entire existence. Like for me, I have a sailing peer group, I have a quilting peer group, I have my creative peer group, my business owner peer group, and it goes on and on. My family peer group, my favorite is my vacation peer group, because they're the ones where I can just be me and not have to be the teacher or mentor. I can just be Dianne and go on vacation. But it matters because you're not going to go to, your business owner peer group and talk about something that they know nothing about. They'll listen. They will care. If I went and called up one of my entrepreneur friends and started talking about this problem I'm having with my quilting, they would listen because they like me and they care, but we'll both come away a little bit disconnected, not quite fulfilled, because they understand the English, but they don't get the situation. Just like trying to talk to somebody that I know who's not a business owner or doesn't do video and doesn't do the things I do for my business. They want to listen, they want to help, but they just can't get there from here. That disconnection feeds loneliness. To cure the loneliness, we want to have multiple peer groups so we can use our discernment of who to say what to. You are multifaceted. No one person, no one group is ever going to be able to take care of all your needs. Isn't going to happen that way. The way it's going to happen is you using your discernment, using your spiritual and emotional and mental and physical and social areas all together, kind of like a beautiful moving entity. That's you, multifaceted with different parts of you flowing. That's how you cure loneliness, is to be so connected on the inside that you naturally attract to yourself the right connections, the right people, the right events. And when you are alone or in a foreign country with people who maybe don't understand you, you're so aligned and so connected that loneliness is not what you experience. Instead, you experience maybe the awe and beauty of the diversity and the divergence around you. So curing loneliness is a daily process of feeding these 5 areas and making sure that we spend time nurturing our own integrity, our alignment, our mind, our heart, our soul. That whole integrity matters so much. So remember 5 areas. Remember every day. And remember that you can cure loneliness simply by being attentive to your inner landscape. Until the next episode, be well.
Thank you for listening. I trust you gained some valuable inspiration and information. Please join me and other visionaries in the Someone Gets Me Facebook group. Or for more information on my services and additional episodes, visit someonegetsme.com. Again, thanks for listening.